strategic anticipation works, because when you know the outcomes that are possible.
How did you create buy-in from leaders? Was there a business case? Any frameworks you used?
But brand is something that is a very strategic initiative that we have taken.
How does one leverage those learnings? What works, what doesn't work? Anything from the two worlds that stands out?
The demand is created through the need to interact with the brand. We converted a customer story into a brand experience. So it was a win-win, right?
If you had to bury one marketing trend, what would that be?
I think it'll be newsletters in a perspective and a driver's seat, saying that if brand can drive demand, then why not invest in it, right?
Hi, and welcome to the B2B Marketing Podcast, presented by B2B World Summit and presented by Brand Story Digital. Today, we are talking about a very interesting topic of brand building and positioning of B2B brands. My name is Richa, and I worked across organizations like Schneider Electric, Amazon, Yum Brands, and we're talking to Archana Chopda, who's the VP of Marketing at greytHR. Archana comes with over 2 decades of experience working with brands like HP, GE, Salesforce, Microsoft. Archana, thanks for joining us today. Super excited to be here and talking to you on this topic.
Thank you so much, Richa, for having me here. It's really definitely a pleasure. And I think you and I have been connected on LinkedIn for ages.
Yeah.
It's finally nice to see you in person.
Lovely. No, absolutely happy to see you here. Great 2026 energy. So what we have as a segment is basically, it's a one-line answer only segment. Okay, so I have a couple of questions for you. You just need to give me either one-line answers or two-line answers. So that's how we go about it, right? If you were to describe yourself in one word, what would it be?
Courageous.
Lovely. If not a marketer, what would you be?
A lot of people tell me this, so I'd go with sales leader, something that I would be.
Okay, what are the top 3 traits that you value in people?
I think positive attitude. I think all of us agree to that. Commitment and being ready to deliver no matter what, and taking up any challenge. I think these 3 things, I would say, I hire basis, how I see these 3 qualities in people.
Lovely. Okay, the next one is my favorite question of this lot. Okay, so if your personality had a Pantone shade, what would that be?
I think it'll be fuchsia.
Oh, lovely.
I'm a very vibrant person, so fuchsia really defines me well.
Love fuchsia. Mine would probably yellow. I love yellow. It's just bright. It's
bright, and
I love fuchsia as well. All right, the last one in this segment. What would be your superpower?
I think most marketers do this, but I'll probably put a term to it. It's called strategy and anticipation. I think many of us, kind of know beforehand that what are the different chess moves that you need to make basis the market and competitive facts that you have in place, and what you anticipate what will work and what will not work. So
Right.
I do that really well. Some people call it analytical mindset, but I think I would call it as being strategic with an anticipation of the outcomes.
Oh, love.
I gave a long answer.
No, that's
But,
absolutely fine. Perfectly well phrased. Lovely. You've been with the industry for a very, very long time, 2 decades of experience. You've spent a lot of your time in revenue, marketing, brand driving now. You've also done a lot of demand generation roles, right? So I want to know, how did this journey come about and how did you make this transition?
Sure. See, look, I have always done pipe generation, creating sales revenue, and that's not something that I've given away. That is also a very integral part of the work I do every day. Brand marketing is one of the ways in which we are adding or doubling down another layer of creating that pipeline, wherein the demand is created through the need to interact with the brand. And when the values are aligned, when the solutions are something that we are looking for, I think that alignment really comes about really well. And I think it's really critical to look at brand marketing as a revenue generation engine as well. And I think at greytHR, I've been awfully conscious of how brand marketing is driving that demand generating enough, buzz in the market. And it's also delivering marketing and ROI. And just while I was talking about strategic and anticipation, I think we've used brand marketing as one of those key channels or strategies that if you move it right on a chessboard, it can actually change the way prospects are looking at you and how they really want to engage with you. And HRMS as an industry is very fragmented. There are a lot of large players, there are a lot of small and mid-sized and even nano players. And while everybody has or is being doing exactly the same, brand is what really stands out. So I am still doing sales revenue, pipeline creation, supporting the commercial teams. But brand is something that is a very strategic initiative that we have taken, be able to be recognized right now for creating inquiries for the future. That's the way I would put it.
Right. I think you put it wonderfully. Brand is literally like the flywheel of any brand, right? In the sense, it does create future demand. It's creating more awareness in the current moment. So I fully echo that.
And Richa, you have also, moved from so many organizations, from e-commerce to retail to now at Schneider, you're into energy. Like, how do you see that brand playing, from hardcore B2C to somewhat B2B? What are your learnings and how do you go about it?
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey for me as well. So I spent over a decade in B2C and then I made the switch to B2B. Honestly, the principles do not change, right? Like we all kind of agree on that one. However, the tactics might vary a little, but eventually it is trust, brand trust that the brand is able to create and what you're able to create to your end consumers or whoever is consuming your solution. So really the principles are the same, which is what makes it very, very exciting and also a very fertile territory to extend what you've learned into the B2B space. Yes, the mindset needs to shift a little because you're really going from nurturing that one-to-one relationship to probably, building a longer sales cycle. Think of it like driving more education versus in the B2C space where one is creating more entertainment out content, right? So the mindset shift is required, but like I said, the principles do not change. And it really kind of adds up when B2B brands really take on well on brand marketing. I personally love that. So it's one of my favorite streams of work too. And I've seen a lot of the interesting work that you guys are doing. I've been privy to some of it. We've spoken about it. So tell us a little more about how you're building the brand. You've also been engaging with creators like Ayush Shraddha and the likes and some very popular faces. Now, this is something that not a lot of B2B brands do. So tell us a little more about that. How are you doing that piece of work?
Marketing is become, a sea of sameness, right? And every competitor is, reaching out to the prospect with same kind of messaging, same kind of webinars, or same kind of thought leadership or blogs. And I think, the approach that we took was very much, to break that messaging fatigue and to really go beyond, the robotic way of consuming content. We wanted to break that and we wanted to reach people where they were spending the non-billable time. Wherein, how can we be at a place that you have their undivided attention and place where they would really listen and resonate with you. I think that was one of the reasons. And we did not pick up, some of these campaigns like, working with Ayush Shraddha or Sarthak Ahuja because we felt that it would go viral. I think some of these creators also brought in their experience and that kind of really merged very well with the brand. Like Ayush Shraddha talks a lot about, office humor and corporate, teams and HR. And I think it just gelled really well. And she's fantastic the way she brings
it's
it
a
out.
natural fitment.
Exactly. And I think the key was to look at it from all the different programs and marketing campaigns that we have and what is it that is missing? What is it that the competition is doing? So we also have a team who regularly, looks at the market, looks at the competition, looks at the gaps, and then we come together and say, you know what, there is a gap. Let's figure out what we can do to bridge that gap. The relatability of Ayushadda or Sarthak Ahuja was the highest ROI as an outcome that we could really derive. And at the end of it, so I think we engineered this entire campaign completely from an outcome base so that it could really create a moat for greytHR from an emotional connection rather than a company that is selling me product or solutions. It was more from an emotional standpoint, and I think it did really well. There were a lot of conversations in the HR community about these campaigns, and I think that was something very different and a lot of fun to work with.
I tend to agree with it. I think a lot of the B2B messaging tends to revolve around the rational aspects of the brand. But I do think for consumers to really know you, they have to connect with the brand in some way. To me, a great barometer is also how often was that forwarded on WhatsApp, right?
Yes.
Because if you want to share it with your friends or your family or somebody close enough to you, to me that also is a big win.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you've also done some very interesting work, in your different stints from influencing point of view or campaigns that are brand. What are your, some big wins that you'd love to share?
So from my perspective, I remember engaging with creators when we launched a accelerator program. Now, this was an accelerator program with an e-commerce company for sellers. We were trying to acquire sellers and a lot of D2C sellers. Now, while the program was a few years old, the awareness for this was kind of low. And what we were hearing often from a lot of sellers was that, hey, we don't know enough about the program. We might have heard about it, but we don't know what it does. And then there was another cohort of people who said, hey, we don't even know about this accelerator program which exists right now. So in one of the seasons, and by the way, that accelerator program continues to run, one of the future seasons, we actually decided to go ahead with creators because one, there's a lot of obviously familiarity that they bring, to the brand, but also they also add a lot of credibility, a lot of easy messaging, which we could plug in through the use of influencers. However, one has to obviously be very wary of how they fit into your brand, right? There can't be a forced fit. So we've done a lot of work around that as well, but it actually works. So to me, that's a big win.
Yeah, and I think we picked a page from how B2C does. We broke off outside of the mold, saying that B2B does just the webinars and thought leadership and events, and we said, what, let's take a chance. Let's do this. And it worked really well. And that's when I said, the strategic anticipation works, because when the outcomes that are possible, and it's a lot more easier to take these chances.
Yeah, that's so true. I've also heard from you on the work that you've done with Chai Point. Tell us a little more about that.
I think the Chai Point collaboration was also it was contextual intelligence. We asked ourselves, where do we reach out to people who have an undivided attention and who are very receptive to our messaging. And the chai break made a lot of sense, because most people in an organization take a chai break, and they take a chai break to get off work, to discuss things. And what we did was we had these very nice fun branded lines on Chai Point cups, and people really related to it. I think what we did is we went beyond talking about our products, but again spoke about the emotions of working in an organization and the problems that we have from an HR perspective, right? And people really felt that this is something that stands out. And we even went beyond just the ritualistic time that they spend with chai in a setup, in an office setup or in a retail store. We went beyond that. We also made it viral by involving a lot of SMEs who spoke about this and felt that how they resonate with this, and that many of these campaign lines that we had, there was this one line that said out of salary but full of chai, and a lot of HR leaders and SMEs resonated because they felt that this is what people talk in their free time.
Slice of life.
Exactly, it's a slice of your everyday life, and people connect and talk on these things. And what they did was they added their perspective, their 30 years, 20 years of experience, and they created a nugget on LinkedIn and said that, if these are your problems, you can do these 3 things or 5 things that I have done.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of really, worked. We had something on burnout, we had something on appraisals. So this entire campaign, to say, it was an excellent collaboration with Chai Point. They're also our customers. So it was a win-win, right? Like, we converted a customer story into a brand experience. And I think that really came out fantastically well. It was very creative, it was very innovative, and I think that my entire team worked on it, for a very long time.
Lovely. It sounds very, very authentic. I'm sure consumers loved it. I love this idea. So hats off to you guys.
Thank you.
Wonderfully done. So, that actually brings me to my next question, which is, anytime you're trying to push the boundaries or you're trying to do something new, there's a buy-in which is needed from leaders, right? It may or may not be easy always, right? So tell me a little more on how did you create buy-in from leaders? Was there a business case, any frameworks you used? A little more on that.
See, while I'm ultimately answerable to creating, sales pipeline or sales revenue, for my commercial peers and folks, I think what really leadership and the sales team in greytHR understand is that brand is the air cover for the sales to really go win in the market and, fight on the ground. And I think that ability helped, us to lower our, CAC in a very big way, because the cost of acquisition became really low. And that kind of put us in a perspective at the driver's seat, saying that if brand can drive demand, then why not invest in it, right? And I'm also very lucky, or I would say in a great place at greytHR, because there is a lot of trust and transparency that the leadership has, right? And there is no need for me to go and explain or create a strategy plan or a document. While we have everything in place, we have our budget sheets and we have the entire plan and how it's going to pan out, and the promotion, the media plan. I think the expectation is not to micromanage and get into the details of how it's going to happen, rather than what are you going to bring to the table and how is it going to change the needle for us. One of the very good things that we did at the start was to also, like I said, look at the brand compass and look at the market status right now. So we did a complete detailed study in terms of our competition, the market, what each one of them are doing from different aspects. Like, is my competition active on LinkedIn? What are they talking on LinkedIn? How are they on thought leadership perspective? What is their engagement on events? We actually looked at all the different angles of our competitor and then found out gaps. Right. And when you go and talk to your leadership about this gap and what is the movement that we can expect from a demand and ultimately the sales pipeline, I think it becomes a lot more easier. So like I said, marketing, I think thrives. All CMOs thrive if the trust and transparency and the freedom is, given to us, saying that, hey, we trust what you do. We just need to see the numbers and pipeline. And I think we all know that it doesn't come from one channel or it doesn't come from a particular program. It is a culmination of many things that work very strategically together. Yeah. So I think that would, be one of the key highlights. It isn't required. It should never be required for a marketer to explain, what you're doing and why you're doing, if the end results are always met.
I love that. I think really linking it to the outcomes and very actionable outcomes, that's what drives the needle forward, right? So though I agree fully on that, and I think socializing the new work, obviously prior to when it is getting launched, is also something that's really helped me. I remember being part of a commercial team and running marketing for a commercial function. And it was a very heterogeneous group, right? So to me, really socializing the plans beforehand, getting their inputs as well. So I was part of a team where we had account management. There was obviously sales. There were onboarding teams for these leads which were coming in. And then we obviously had many other facets as part of the overall plan. So I think really socializing the plans beforehand, getting inputs from, other functional leaders, that also strengthens the case a lot more. Then clearly linking it to outcomes and saying, hey, this is what we expect it to do for us. And this is the kind of preparation we also need. I remember running a 360-degree campaign across many cities. It was a print campaign, so clearly it was going to give us a lot of boost. So we actually prepped our call center teams to be equipped to be able to handle this kind of volume which was coming in. So while we did all of that, a part of me also said, okay, hey, let's have a plan B. Just in case this does not work. Should we sort of pause it? Should we divert the funds elsewhere? So also having a bit of a plan B in place is something that kind of works for a lot of organizations.
Very interesting. I'm a firm believer that autonomy is, comes along when there is a lot of transparency. And at greytHR, I've not asked for trust, but it was handed over very easily when you're able to share the predictive frameworks that you're working on.
Of course. Yes. Sounds fantastic, Archana. I'm going to move on to my next question, which is a little more on how, two of these worlds are straddled, right? You worked across some very large brands, right? And now you're at a mid-sized brand. So tell me a little more on about how does one leverage those learnings, what works, what doesn't work, anything from the two worlds that stands out?
Sure. See, with what happens with large brands, there is a lot of precision infrastructure. You really get real-time insights into how the performance is, and you can tweak in matter of seconds. You can change your advertisement, you can change your strategy, you can even sometimes move completely out of a particular industry that you're running behind because the numbers are not showing. When you have experienced that, if you have the ability to bring that to a smaller organization, I think that is really a game changer, because if you are able to bring in the process, the technology, the MarTech stack into a smaller organization in whatever way, even in the smallest way, then you are able to make those decisions faster, which otherwise is very difficult in a small organization. You are otherwise, at the mercy of some Excel sheets and some numbers and some data and agencies sending information to you, and, the digital team coming once in 2 weeks to show what kind of, improvements have happened and what has it led to.
Yeah.
I think having the right MarTech stack is what I would say is the biggest growth lever, at least at greytHR. And I've insisted wherever that I have, been, that do we have the right tools and technology? And then like I said, precision infrastructure is like to the point you are able to, identify what's working, what's not. I think that is one of the things that I would like all small organization to, have keep in place, and that's something that they can learn from large organizations.
That's very true. I really like the systems and processes at large organizations, but I also love the nimbleness and the agility that one can bring to a mid-sized organization.
Exactly.
Like you said, what things can be tweaked in real time as long as you have the right information. But culturally speaking, I think to me, bringing this nimbleness, bringing the art of test and learn to mid-sized organizations also is a big win, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think it also goes back to, like I said, processes and systems of the large, like you're calling it precision systems. So
yeah,
true. I think you have both the worlds coming together.
The other side is also that when you come from large organization, then you spoke about nimbleness, right? A lot of people are very rigid. They're not flexible. They are looking at it from a perspective, okay, if something was to be 20 steps, it is to be 20 steps. I think when you do that transition from large to small or small to large, or anyway, whatever way it is, you need to be very flexible. You need to get the best of the both world at the same time, be flexible, because it is not going to work out all the time. And the flexibility, the approach of, it doesn't matter, let's find another way out. I think that really takes your ship ahead. Otherwise you are stuck. If you are from a large organization, you're stuck with processes. You get very bogged down or frustrated, like, why is this not working? I only wish if it was, in this particular way. I think if you move all that aside and see all that information and just, brave through it and just say, like, come may what.
Yeah.
the results have to be delivered, and how can I do it? And that's when the creativity comes. That's when the innovation comes, because now you're very constrained. You have limited resources, you have limited time. The kind of people also work with you have a lot of limitations, and with all of these limitations, and of course the agility of people, because they've been in smaller teams, and the agility to take decisions faster versus in a large organizations where sometimes decision has to be multifold, and you have so many layers to approve those decisions. I think a combination, if you're just able to strike that balance and use it to your advantage, then I think any place could be a great place to work.
I agree, and I think innovation really takes good shape in constraints, right?
Yes.
So frugality, nimbleness, I think it all leads to some very innovative solutions which one may not think of in times of a bunch. So fully agree on that one, Archana. All right. Segueing into another interesting topic, which is, let's talk a little about things which may not work. We often talk about things which work all the time, right? If you can spend a little time talking about perhaps some learnings or pilots or things which did not work, that would also be great.
So that's something similar to what I just said, right? Like if you are very rigid, if you are not flexible, then you are bound to run into problems. If you have high expectations of a process, you have high expectations from a campaign that you would have done it in the past, and you assume that something similar will work, I think that kind of learnings that you bring from other organization may not really work. So it's important to understand that if you have 5, 10 or 12 or 15 years of experience, that experience is your base. The base is where you now catapult into creating something for the scenario or the situation you're in. So if you are very, very rigid and very sure that I have done this in the past and this has worked and it will work here, I think that rigidity doesn't work. The campaign might have worked, but the rigidity is something that I feel,
So the mindset.
The mindset, yes, and the ability to just go with the flow. And there are so many campaigns that when I work with my team and we're sitting and talking, I said, hey, why not that and why not this, and then everybody starts adding ideas. It snowballs into something so big. So I think the fluidity is very important in marketing, and large organization has this restrictions, right? Because everything has to be tied to a larger KPI, everything has to be tied to a bigger outcome, and everything has to roll up to a certain department who has their agenda, and if it's not part of the agenda, then it is sidelined. Versus a smaller organization where if you are owning the marketing department, and if you know that this is the outcome that you have to deliver for the board or the founders, then you know that you have the ability to create that because you have those reins in your hand. You do not have to go and align yourself to multiple departments. So I think unlearning being rigid and unlearning structure, like being okay with unstructured ways of working, I think is one of the ways that people could survive in a smaller organization if they're moving from large.
It's again a mindset thing. Like they said. Fantastic. That actually brings me to the last segment. We call this the marketer's confession, Archana. Okay, so there are 2 questions in this. So the first one is basically, if I were to ask you that, Archana, please kidnap one brand's creative team, which one would that be?
See, look, with a lot of my recent work, I have kind of felt that there is no B2B and B2C anymore. And with greytHR, I think we have managed to do that. We are playing in that field of B2C as well a little bit. So I think my inspiration comes from Zomato. I think I've been watching them for a very long time, their creativity, and recently with Zepto, they've been doing some amazing stuff. So if I had to capture a team and say, come work with me, or I'd like to be part of your team, then it'll definitely be Zepto or Zomato. I think they're doing brilliant work. But from a B2B point of view, I think I've always liked a lot of good stuff that is happening from a Canva perspective. They're doing really good stuff, and also Figma, I think they're doing very, very good. it resonates, and it also, like I said, builds on the emotional factor. So there is really no B2C, B2B per se. It's more of, business to an individual or to a human.
Right. It's a human to
human to human.
And how Slack is building a lot of exciting stuff. One has to really go read their LinkedIn comments. It's fantastic. And the kind of brand voice they're also building.
Yeah.
So I'm a fan of Slack as well.
Interesting. Very nice.
All right. So moving on to the last question. Now, if you had to bury one marketing trend, what would that be?
Let me ask that to you first. What do you want to bury?
Okay. If I were to do that, I've seen a lot of brands latching onto trends which do not fit the brand ethos or the core of the brand. So just doing viral marketing for the sake of it, jumping onto
Moment marketing.
jumping onto that without really that making sense for the core of the brand or the heart of the brand. I think that's one thing I'm not a fan of.
Yeah. See, I like moment marketing to some extent if it is done well.
Exactly.
There are, like recently there was this thing about apology letter, right? And I'm very scared of moment marketing. When my team comes and says, and then I start contemplating and I think from various point of view, and I said it is just for like 2 days, but it doesn't, make sense. But if it's done right, so we had a very nice apology letter, which actually went very viral as well. I think if it's done well, it's a good opportunity to just have that burst of viewers and followers that comes to you. But if it's not done well, it's such a mess.
It just kind of falls flat, right?
Yeah, and when everybody does it forcefully, just for the heck of it, then it becomes. I think being smart and choosing the right moment for moment marketing works. I see that's important, and not just doing everything that comes. So if I had to bury something, I think it'll be newsletters. I think this just been done to death and nobody reads newsletters anymore. It is important to some extent, but I feel customers or prospects don't want to be connected on a transactional level. They don't want to just hear about, what are the top things or features that are coming out, or what are the ways in which they can use their product better, or these are the events, or these are the, webinars that are coming out. I think you don't have to be connected to your audience through product and solutions and updates. So newsletter is one of those things that does, and I just want to take it and throw it in the dustbin. I won't be doing that for sure because it's required, but I would love to kill that, because there are so many other ways where audience is hungry to hear from you, but beyond what the newsletter says.
Got it. Interesting. So probably an interesting video format or something more snackable.
Yeah. And maybe not even about product. What I was trying to say is that let's not think that they're looking, or let's not assume that they don't know about us.
Yeah.
They actually know about you, your competition, and everybody a lot more than how much you would, want to talk to them, because they do their research. Everybody, does their research enough and more. But what do they want from you? If you're able to connect with that emotional aspect, then you don't need those newsletters anymore.
Fantastic, Archana. I think it's been wonderful talking.
Absolutely. I love talking as well.
That brings us to a close to this episode. So Archana, thank you so much for sharing your insights. Absolutely love.
Thank you, Richa. You've been such a fantastic host, and it was really nice talking to you and sharing and listening to your experience too. So thank you so much for having me here.
All right. So with that, we'll sign off. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you're looking for more insights, please join us at the B2B World Summit and Awards 2026, which is happening in Bangalore on 20th of March. With that, we're signing off. Thank you so much.